After helping hundreds of seniors downsize over the years, I've discovered something the organizing industry doesn't want you to know. The products they market as downsizing essentials often make the transition harder, not easier. Stores won't mention this, and most professional organizers profit from recommending exactly what you don't need. But here's the truth. Successful downsizing isn't about buying better storage solutions or investing in organizing systems. It's about making clear decisions and choosing simplicity over complication. If you're looking to downsize without the stress, wasted money, or endless products that promise to help but rarely deliver, this channel is for you. I share honest, practical insights like this every week, and subscribing means you'll know what actually works before spending another dollar on things that won't. I'm really glad you found this. Let's begin. Today, you'll discover 10 items I never buy when helping seniors downsize and why avoiding them creates smoother transitions. You'll learn which organizing products delay decisions, which space-saving tools create problems, and which aids waste money. Stay until the end for the most important ones. Item 1. Storage unit rentals. Let me start with the biggest expense that derails downsizing: storage units. The self-storage industry in America is worth over $50 billion, and much of that comes from seniors who rent units thinking they need temporary space during a transition. But here's what actually happens. That temporary solution becomes permanent. Month after month, you're paying fees that quickly add up to thousands of dollars, while your belongings sit untouched in a climate-controlled building somewhere across town. I've watched families spend more on storage in 2 years than the items inside are actually worth. And the emotional weight doesn't disappear just because things are stored elsewhere. The decisions you're avoiding are still waiting. Every month that passes makes it harder to deal with because now there's guilt attached to the money already spent. The storage industry knows this. They profit from postponement. If something hasn't been needed in the 6 months since downsizing began, it won't suddenly become necessary because it's in a storage unit. The items that truly matter come with you to the new home. Everything else is taking up space in your budget and your mind. I've helped families empty storage units that had been rented for years, and the most common reaction is relief mixed with regret. Relief that the monthly bills are finally over, and regret that so much was spent on items they'd completely forgotten about. Wedding gifts still in boxes, duplicate furniture that didn't fit the new apartment, holiday decorations from a house 3 moves ago. None of it was worth the accumulated cost. So instead of renting storage, I recommend making decisions in real time. It's uncomfortable at first, but it's also freeing. Keep what supports your life now. Donate, sell, or gift the rest. The money saved on storage fees can fund experiences, help with moving costs, or simply stay in your account where it belongs. Because storage units don't solve the problem of having too much. They just move the problem somewhere else and charge you monthly for the privilege. If you're considering a storage unit right now, ask yourself honestly, will I actually sort through this in 6 months, or am I just delaying a decision I know I need to make? The answer to that question will save you thousands. Item 2. Vacuum-sealed storage bags. These bags are everywhere in organizing aisles, promising to compress bulky items like blankets, winter coats, and clothing into flat, space-saving packages. They look like the perfect solution for downsizing into a smaller home, but after years of watching people use them, I've learned they create more problems than they solve. First, compression doesn't answer the real question. Does this item still serve your life as it is now? Vacuum-sealed bags let you avoid that question by making everything fit. But fitting isn't the same as belonging. You're just squeezing more into less space without evaluating whether it should be there at all. Second, these bags require maintenance. The seals fail over time. Air slowly seeps back in. Items need to be recompressed, which means dragging out the vacuum, finding the right attachment, and doing the whole process again. For seniors with limited mobility or energy, this becomes a task that gets postponed indefinitely. Those flat packages eventually puff back up, taking the same space they would have without compression. Third, once items are sealed away, they're essentially invisible. Out of sight becomes out of mind. I've opened closets where vacuum bags were stacked years ago, and the person couldn't remember what was inside half of them. They'd compressed things they thought they'd need eventually, but eventually never came. When we finally opened the bags, most items went straight to donation. The compression had just delayed their exit. There's also a practical issue with fabric care. Compression can damage certain materials over time, especially anything with structure like coats or quilts. Items come out wrinkled, misshapen, or with permanent creases that weren't there before. And when you do need something that's been vacuum sealed, accessing it means breaking the seal and losing the space-saving benefit unless you reseal everything else around it. It becomes a system that discourages actually using what you own. So instead of buying vacuum-sealed bags, I recommend storing only what you genuinely use and have room for without compression. If blankets don't fit in your linen closet, you probably have more than you need for a smaller home. If winter coats require compression to store, perhaps it's time to keep only the favorites. Downsizing means matching belongings to the space you actually have, not finding ways to cram everything in. The goal isn't to fit your old life into your new home. It's to build a new life that fits comfortably in the space you have now. Item 3. Stackable plastic bins with lids. Walk into any container store, and you'll see walls of matching plastic bins marketed as the solution to organization. They stack neatly, come in various sizes, and promise to transform chaos into order. For seniors downsizing, they seem ideal. But in practice, these bins often make things worse. The fundamental problem is that they hide what's inside. When you stack bins with lids, you can't see contents without unstacking, opening, and searching. This sounds minor, but it has real consequences. Items stored out of sight get forgotten. You buy duplicates because you can't remember what you already own. And when you need something specific, you're left guessing which bin it might be in, leading to a frustrating search through multiple containers. I've watched this pattern repeat countless times. Someone buys a dozen matching bins, carefully sorts belongings into categories, stacks them in a closet or garage, and feels accomplished. 6 months later, they can't find their winter gloves, their extra batteries, or the photo albums they meant to look through. Everything is technically organized, but nothing is accessible. The bins created a system that requires too much effort to maintain or use. There's also a physical challenge. For many seniors, crouching down to access bottom bins or reaching up to pull down top ones becomes difficult or unsafe. Stackable storage works against changing mobility needs, and lids that seemed easy to remove when first purchased can become stubborn or require grip strength that isn't always there. Beyond practicality, these bins encourage keeping more than necessary. It's easy to think, I'll just get one more bin for this category, instead of asking whether that category needs to exist at all. Bins give clutter a permanent home and make it feel organized even when it's not. The items inside still require decisions, but the bins make those decisions easier to postpone. What actually works better for downsizing is open, visible storage with less in it. Shallow drawers where everything is seen at once. Shelves without doors where items are immediately accessible. Clear containers if something must be enclosed. The goal is to reduce barriers between you and your belongings, not create more layers to navigate. When everything is visible, you naturally keep less because you're confronted daily with what you actually have. So instead of investing in matching bin systems, I recommend sorting first and storing second. Make decisions about what stays, then find simple ways to keep those items accessible. Because organization isn't about hiding things neatly. It's about living comfortably with what you've chosen to keep. Item 4. Underbed storage containers. Underbed storage seems like free space just waiting to be used. The area is already there, containers slide in easily, and it feels efficient to maximize every inch of a smaller home. But this is one storage solution I consistently advise against for seniors downsizing. The first issue is physical access. Getting down on hands and knees to slide containers out from under a bed becomes difficult as mobility changes. What started as convenient storage turns into an obstacle. Items stored under beds are the first to be neglected because they're literally the hardest to reach. I've helped people downsize who haven't looked under their beds in years because it's just too much effort. Those containers become permanent fixtures holding things that aren't actually needed. There's also the cleaning challenge. Beds need to be cleaned underneath, but storage containers block access. Dust accumulates. In some climates, humidity creates problems. Containers become dirty and difficult to maintain. which means the items inside aren't being cared for properly either. And if someone has limited energy for household tasks, choosing between cleaning under the bed or leaving it becomes an easy decision to postpone. Beyond practicality, underbed storage violates a principle that matters more as we age. The space where you sleep should feel calm, not crowded. Beds surrounded by stored items create subtle stress. Your bedroom becomes a storage area that happens to have a bed, rather than a restful space that supports good sleep. This might seem small, but the quality of your sleep environment affects daily energy and well-being. Underbed containers also encourage keeping items that fall into a gray category, things you're not sure about, so they get stored somewhere out of sight. It's clutter wearing the disguise of organization. If items were truly needed and used regularly, they wouldn't be shoved under a bed. They'd be in accessible locations where they're easy to reach when wanted. I've noticed that when people downsize successfully, their bedrooms become simpler. The bed itself, perhaps a nightstand, maybe a dresser. Storage moves to closets, shelves, or simply leaves the home entirely because it wasn't actually necessary. The bedroom returns to being a place of rest instead of a place where things accumulate. So instead of buying underbed storage, I recommend asking what those items are and whether they truly belong in your downsized life. If they're seasonal clothing, perhaps you have more than needed. If they're keepsakes, maybe they deserve proper display rather than hidden storage. If they're miscellaneous items without clear purpose, that's a sign they might not need to come along at all. Your bedroom should support rest, not storage. And your belongings should be accessible without requiring you to get down on the floor. Item 5. Furniture with hidden compartments. Storage beds with lift-up mattresses. Ottomans with hollow centers. Coffee tables with secret drawers. Benches with seats that open. The furniture industry markets these as smart space-saving solutions, especially for smaller homes. But in reality, they add complexity that works against comfortable aging. The core problem is effort. Hidden storage requires lifting, bending, or maneuvering furniture to access what's inside. A storage bed might hold extra linens, but accessing them means lifting a heavy mattress, which becomes difficult or impossible as strength decreases. An ottoman with storage sounds clever until you realize it requires balance and bending to retrieve anything from inside. What seemed convenient at purchase becomes an obstacle years later. I've helped countless seniors who have furniture with hidden compartments they no longer use. The storage exists, but the items inside are essentially trapped. They've accumulated backup blankets they can't reach, books they meant to read but can't access, or miscellaneous items they've forgotten about because retrieving them is too much work. The furniture creates storage without creating usability. There's also a mental load. Hidden storage means remembering where things are stored. Was that item in the ottoman or the storage bench? Which drawer in the coffee table? When storage isn't visible, it requires active memory to use effectively. For many seniors, this becomes frustrating rather than helpful. Simple, visible storage with fewer items works better than hidden storage with more. Another consideration is moving. Furniture with hidden compartments is heavier and more awkward to transport. If downsizing leads to another move, which it often does, this furniture becomes a liability. Movers charge more. The risk of damage increases. And when you arrive at the new place, you might realize the multifunctional furniture doesn't actually fit the space or lifestyle anymore. Standard furniture is easier to move, replace, or donate when circumstances change. From a downsizing perspective, this type of furniture also enables keeping more than necessary. It's easy to think, I have the storage space, so I might as well fill it, rather than questioning whether those items are actually needed. The furniture itself becomes a justification for holding on to things that could leave. I recommend choosing furniture for its primary purpose. A bed for sleeping, not storage. Seating for comfort, not concealing items. Tables for function, not hidden drawers. When furniture does one thing well, your home becomes simpler to navigate and maintain. And if you need storage, choose dedicated pieces that are easy to access. A simple dresser, open shelving, or a small bookcase, because hidden storage isn't efficient if you can't comfortably use what's hidden. Item 6. Wall-mounted organizers and shelving systems. Home improvement stores are full of wall-mounted solutions: floating shelves, pegboard systems, magnetic strips, mounted baskets, and modular wall organizers. They promise to maximize vertical space and keep things off counters and floors. For seniors downsizing into smaller homes, they sound ideal, but I consistently advise against them. The first issue is installation. Mounting anything properly requires tools, the ability to find studs, drilling into walls, and ensuring everything is level and secure. For many seniors, this isn't a realistic DIY project. Hiring someone costs money, and installation becomes even more complicated in rental situations where landlords restrict wall modifications. Even in owned homes, drilling holes creates commitment. Once installed, these systems are difficult to remove or adjust without leaving damage. The second problem emerges when it's time to move again, which happens more frequently than people expect. Many seniors downsize once, then downsize again a few years later as needs continue to change. Wall-mounted organizers don't move with you. They leave holes that need patching, paint that needs touching up, and potential charges from landlords for wall damage. What seemed permanent becomes waste when circumstances shift. Freestanding furniture and organization systems can be taken along or easily sold, but wall-mounted installations are abandoned. There's also a safety consideration. Items stored on walls need to be reachable without stretching or using step stools, but once mounted, shelves and organizers are fixed at specific heights. If mobility changes and reaching high shelves becomes unsafe, those organizers turn into unusable space. I've seen beautiful wall-mounted systems that hold items people can no longer access without risk. From a practical standpoint, wall-mounted storage requires careful weight distribution and secure installation. Items falling from walls can cause injury, and as vision changes, navigating around protruding shelves and baskets becomes a tripping or bumping hazard. What looked clean and efficient can create obstacles in daily movement through rooms. Instead of wall-mounted systems, I recommend freestanding options that can move and adjust as needed. A simple bookshelf can be repositioned. A rolling cart can change locations. Furniture with shelves serves the same purpose without requiring tools or creating permanent changes. These solutions give flexibility that matters enormously when life circumstances shift. The goal in downsizing isn't to maximize every inch of wall space. It's to create a home that's easy to live in and easy to leave if needed. Flexibility matters more than optimization, and simple movable solutions serve better than permanent installations that assume life will stay the same. Item 7. Vertical space. Maximizers. The organizing industry loves vertical space: tall shelving units that reach the ceiling, over-the-door racks, ceiling-mounted hooks, and stacking systems that pile storage upward. The logic seems sound. When floor space is limited, build up. But for seniors downsizing, vertical storage creates more problems than solutions. The fundamental issue is safety. Anything stored above shoulder height requires reaching, stretching, or climbing to access. Step stools become necessary, which dramatically increases fall risk. Every time you need something from a high shelf, you're faced with a choice: climb up despite the danger or leave it where it is. Neither option is good. Items stored vertically might as well not exist because accessing them safely becomes impossible. I've watched this pattern unfold repeatedly. Someone installs tall shelving, carefully organizes items from bottom to top, and feels accomplished. 6 months later, only the bottom 2 shelves get used. Everything higher up sits untouched because it's too difficult or risky to reach. The vertical storage becomes decorative rather than functional. There's also the physical reality of lifting items at height. Taking something down from a high shelf requires reaching up, gripping, and lowering it without dropping. Returning it reverses the process. Both actions become harder as shoulder mobility and grip strength change. What worked fine at 60 might be challenging at 70 and impossible at 80. Vertical storage assumes physical abilities that don't remain constant. Over-the-door organizers deserve special mention. They're marketed heavily for small spaces, promising to use doors as storage surfaces, but they add weight to doors, making them harder to open and close. They protrude into rooms, creating obstacles, and they put items at various heights, many of which become inaccessible. I've seen bathroom doors so loaded with organizers that they barely swing, and bedroom doors cluttered with shoes and accessories that haven't been touched in months. From a downsizing perspective, if items require vertical storage to fit in your home, you likely have more than the space can comfortably hold. The solution isn't to build upward, it's to bring the quantity down to match what can be stored at accessible heights. This usually means keeping less, which is exactly what successful downsizing requires anyway. Instead of vertical maximization, I recommend horizontal accessibility. Store only what fits on shelves you can reach without assistance. Use the bottom 2/3 of closets and leave upper areas empty. Choose furniture scaled to your space rather than trying to cram everything in by going vertical. The goal is daily comfort and safety, not space optimization. Item 8. Professional organizing systems and kits. The professional organizing industry has created an entire market of color-coded filing systems, numbered box inventories, detailed labeling kits, and comprehensive organizational frameworks. They sell for anywhere from $50 to several hundred, promising to transform downsizing chaos into orderly systems. But after years of working with seniors, I can tell you these elaborate systems rarely work as advertised. The first problem is complexity. Professional organizing systems assume you have time, energy, and sustained motivation to implement and maintain detailed frameworks. Reality looks different. Downsizing is emotionally and physically exhausting. Adding a complex system on top of that becomes another burden, not a help. People start with good intentions, get halfway through the color coding or inventory process, and abandon it when they realize how much ongoing effort it requires. I found half-implemented organizing systems in homes across the country, boxes numbered 1 through 15 with nothing after that, file folders color-coded but empty, labels printed but never applied. The system itself became clutter. The second issue is unnecessary expense. A basic notebook and pen accomplish the same goals as a $200 organizing kit. You don't need specialized software to track what you're keeping or donating. Simple lists work fine. The professional systems profit from making organization seem more complicated than it actually is, then selling solutions to complexity they created. There's also a fundamental mismatch between professional organizing principles and real-life downsizing. Professional organizers often work with people who want to keep everything but store it better. Downsizing requires the opposite, keeping less and needing simpler storage as a result. Systems designed to categorize and contain large quantities of belongings work against the goal of reduction. I've watched people spend hours organizing items into elaborate systems when the real question should have been whether those items needed to be kept at all. Beyond practicality, these systems create emotional distance from decision-making. It's easier to implement a filing system than to decide whether you actually need 20 years of paperwork. It's simpler to label boxes than to sort through what's inside them. The system becomes a way to feel productive while avoiding the harder work of letting go. What actually helps during downsizing is permission to keep it simple. Make 3 categories: keep, donate, uncertain. Sort items accordingly. Don't overthink it. The uncertain pile gets reviewed later when you have more clarity. That's it. No color codes, no detailed inventories, no professional frameworks, just honest decisions made one item at a time. Item 9. Downsizing guides and paid consultations. The downsizing industry has exploded with consultants, guides, and services promising to help seniors through the transition. Some charge hourly rates of $100 or more. Others sell comprehensive guides and workbooks for $50 to $200. While some people genuinely need professional help, most don't need to pay for what they already know. Here's the truth I've learned from years of helping people downsize. You already know what matters to you. You don't need a consultant to tell you which items hold meaning or which belongings serve your current life. That knowledge exists inside you already. What's usually needed isn't expert advice about what to keep. It's time, space, and permission to make decisions at your own pace. Paid consultations can't give you that. They can create pressure and external timelines, but they can't make the emotional work easier. I've seen people pay thousands for downsizing consultants who essentially stood there while the person made their own decisions. The consultant added no value beyond accountability, which could have come from a friend or family member for free. The guides and workbooks follow similar patterns. They're filled with checklists, decision trees, and frameworks that sound helpful but mostly state common sense. Do you use this item? Does it fit your new space? Does it hold genuine meaning? These questions don't require a workbook. They require honest self-reflection, which can't be purchased. There's also a concerning trend of services that profit from people's uncertainty during vulnerable transitions. Moving into a smaller home, especially after losing a spouse or facing health changes, is emotionally difficult. Companies market downsizing assistance to people in these situations, often charging premium prices for basic advice or services family members could provide. I'm not saying professional help is never needed. If you have mobility limitations that prevent sorting through belongings, hiring someone to do physical work makes sense. If you have a hoarding situation or truly can't make decisions due to psychological barriers, therapeutic support is valuable. But for most people, downsizing from a family home to a smaller space, paid guides and consultations are unnecessary expenses during an already costly transition. What helps more than paid expertise is honest conversation. Talk with family about what they'd like to inherit. Give yourself permission to let go of things you've kept out of obligation. Start small with one room or category. Take breaks when it's overwhelming. Ask friends for help with the physical work of sorting and packing. None of this requires payment. The downsizing process is personal and emotional. External experts can't do it for you. They can only charge you while you do it yourself. Item 10. Moving boxes before decisions are made. This is perhaps the most common mistake I see, and it costs people time, energy, and money they can't afford to waste. Buying moving boxes before deciding what's actually coming to the new home signals an unconscious commitment to moving everything. Those empty boxes sitting in your garage become containers waiting to be filled, and human nature means they will be filled whether the items inside should move or not. Here's what happens. You buy 30 boxes because that seems like a reasonable number. You start packing room by room. The boxes fill up. You buy 20 more. Before you know it, you've packed and moved things you don't have space for in your new home simply because the boxes were there and packing felt like progress. But packing isn't downsizing. Downsizing requires making hard decisions about what stays and what goes before anything gets packed. When I work with people, I never let them buy boxes first. We start by measuring the new space. Then we calculate how much will realistically fit. Only then do we begin sorting. What's definitely coming, what's definitely going, and what needs more thought. The items in the definitely coming category get counted and measured. Only after that step do we know how many boxes are actually needed. This sequence matters enormously. It prevents overpacking. There's also an emotional component. Empty boxes create urgency and anxiety. They sit there as a reminder of work that needs to be done, which triggers stress. People start packing to relieve that stress, but they're packing without strategy. It's avoidance disguised as productivity. The boxes become a way to delay decision-making rather than facilitate it. From a financial perspective, buying boxes too early often means buying too many. Moving boxes aren't expensive individually, but they add up. 30 boxes, plus packing tape, bubble wrap, and markers can easily cost over $100. If you end up needing only 15 boxes because you downsized properly, that's wasted money during an expensive transition. Instead, I recommend this sequence. Sort first. Decide what's keeping, donating, selling, or gifting. Only when you know exactly what's moving should you acquire boxes, and even then, start with free options. Grocery stores, liquor stores, and online marketplaces often have boxes available for free. Many people who recently moved are happy to give away boxes they no longer need. You can get what you need without spending anything. The goal is to downsize thoughtfully, then pack efficiently, not pack quickly and realize later you moved things you didn't need. Because every item you pack is an item you'll have to unpack, find space for, and live with in your new home. Make sure it earns that space before it goes in a box. Take a quiet moment right now. Look around your home or think about what you've already purchased while preparing to downsize. Which of these 10 items are sitting somewhere nearby? Maybe it's storage bins stacked in a closet that you haven't opened in months. Maybe it's a storage unit you're still paying for but rarely visit. Maybe it's organizing systems you bought with good intentions that never quite worked the way you hoped. There's no judgment here. These items are marketed persuasively for a reason. and most people buy them thinking they'll help. But noticing them now is powerful because awareness is the first step toward making different choices moving forward. If any of these felt familiar, if you recognized yourself in these descriptions, share in the comments which one surprised you most. Others are quietly realizing the same things, and your perspective might help someone else avoid the same expense or frustration. And if you'd like to know what I actually do recommend for downsizing, what genuinely makes the transition easier instead of harder, let me know below. That video will come next. At this stage of life, downsizing should simplify things, not complicate them further. But the organizing industry has built an entire market around selling solutions that often create new problems. They profit when you buy more, store more, and stay uncertain longer. Real downsizing isn't about finding better ways to keep everything. It's about making clear decisions and keeping only what serves your life now. If this video saved you from spending money on things you don't need, or gave you clarity about what actually helps, consider subscribing to Simple Years. Every week I share honest, practical insights about downsizing and simplifying life. The kind of advice that puts your needs ahead of products and your peace ahead of profit. Because successful downsizing isn't measured by how much you store, it's measured by how comfortably you live in your new space. Thank you for being here today. I'll see you in the next video.